Hey everybody, welcome back to Almost Sideways. My name is Adam, and this video is a review of the new Pixar film called Soul that is streaming on Disney+. This review is from Todd, Terry, and Zach, and this is from our podcast, which is streaming on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and Pandora. This is a clip from that episode. I'll leave the whole episode down and make the show notes down below, and we get all super links to the podcast in there as well. So like, share, and subscribe to Almost Sideways for more movie conversations like this. Enjoy the conversation, guys.
Well, let's get into our featured review, because I'm really excited to talk about this one. And that is the latest Pixar film that was launched on Disney Plus on Christmas Day, and it is Soul. Soul was directed by Pete Docter. It is Pete Docter's first Pixar film since Inside Out, which I think is appropriate because it is the closest in the Pixar universe. Inside Out is definitely its closest relative. This follows a guy named Joe Gardner, voiced by Jamie Foxx, who is a jazz piano player that is kind of Mr. Hollanding it as a music teacher while he's waiting for his dream to be realized. He finally gets his big break, and then he falls through a manhole and dies. And then we follow his soul through the afterlife and him fighting against having to walk towards the light. And eventually he finds himself mentoring another soul who is yet to be assigned to a body. That soul's name is 22, who is like the problem child of the pre-incarnation world, and that soul is voiced by Tina Fey. Joe has to try and teach 22 about what it means to be alive and why she should want to be alive. You get some other great voice performances throughout the movie. Honestly, I didn't know I needed Graham Norton giving a voice performance, but as soon as I heard him, that was definitely what I needed in my life. This movie is everything that's great about Pixar. The visuals are stunning. The story is just outstanding. Pixar, when it's at its best, when you're done watching the movie, you feel entertained, you feel inspired, you feel like you want to be a better person. You get just that warm feeling inside you. I've had it with Inside Out, I've had it with WALL-E, and I had it with Soul. Like I said, it just leaves you with this amazingly satisfied feeling. The end maybe tries to wrap it all up a little too nicely in a neat bow that I don't think it necessarily needed to, but I'm not going to dock it for that. I'm giving it 4 stars. I think this is one of the better Pixar outings in a while. And like I said, it's everything Pixar has when it's at its best. One of the comments I did hear is this is probably the least accessible Pixar film for kids, which I'd agree with. However, I watched it with my 5-year-old son, and he was totally into it the entire time. I don't know if he fully understood everything that was going on, but I could see it's very existential, very much like Inside Out is, but with a lot less of the like little kid jokes to kind of keep them engaged. But he was totally in on it the whole time too. So, all right, let's go Zach next.
I love this movie too. I think I did not read that much about this movie going into it. I knew Jamie Foxx was voicing the first lead African-American Pixar character, which I really liked the idea of. And boy, within the first 10 minutes, this movie was surprising. I was not expecting it to go the direction it did. And I love when movies do that. I love that this movie took some risks in telling not just the story of this character whose life is very conflicted in ways that are understandable. The Mr. Holland's Opus comparison is a very good one. But I also love that it brings in this other character of 22 and how the conception for the afterlife is grounded in, it's not offensive, it's not judgmental, it's not religious per se. You could call it maybe spiritual, but it's fascinating. Like Inside Out, you just want to know more about the world that it creates. And Pixar has become less storytellers and more like world builders in movies like this and Coco and Inside Out. And I love it. I think this was like a fabulous and totally inventive journey into this person's, psyche, but also the world that we don't even realize is at the surface of what we're living in. I found a really good tweet that I want to read It says, Pixar movies 20 years ago. Haha, talking toys. Pixar movies now. How do you identify your life's purpose? What structures your identity and makes you you? How do you deal with love and loss? What can we do to find joy in our life despite the meaninglessness of our existence? Like, that to me shows, an elevation and growth in the form of its storytelling. The voice acting in this is fabulous. Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Graham Norton. There are some really funny, pointed adult jokes, like the joke about the New York Knicks in this movie, which I thought was hilarious. There's some great commentary about kind of social situation. I love the scene in the barber shop, which is just fabulous. I think this movie is accessible to everybody. The only reason I'm not giving it 4 stars is because I felt like it was a little long at times, and I didn't necessarily like all the cutaways. The cutaways felt very Family Guy, non sequitur, and I didn't really like that as much. I felt like the movie could have had more organic comedy in the mannerisms of its characters and situations, not the cutaways, which were sort of cheap. But I was still a very enjoyable experience, a strong 3.5-star movie, and one of the better Pixar features for sure.
All right, Todd, what did you think of Soul?
Yeah, I'm right with you guys on that. I definitely felt this movie. Like, it's inside out in its structure, but I feel like it's the most humane movie that Pixar has done, and it focuses on adults, which isn't really normal for the Pixar movies, but it gives it more resonance. But like Terry was saying, I could see kids actually digging this movie. Like, even though it's like this existential examination of your soul and your subconscious and your reason for living, like, the characters are really cool and like really interestingly drawn, and there are some like jokes that I feel like kids can understand too. Like, I remember when like Wall-E came out, and like Roper was saying like, there's no way that kids are ever going to sit through this movie. They're going to be jumping up and down in the aisles. But like, I mean, everyone loves Wall-E. Like, I think people underestimate how much a kid can actually absorb. But Pete Docter, he is the brains behind the Pixar operation, clearly. Like, his movies are the most lovable and the most emotional. And the last half hour of this, I thought was just bliss. Like, I could feel my heart swelling. Like, I loved the last half hour of this movie. And I think that this is as good as Pixar gets when in its non-Toy Story movies in terms of like its characters and the appeal and its message. I think that the emotional impact the movie has, and the intelligence of the script, and like the just amazing like Oscar shoe-in score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. It's just like hard to put into words. Like, I mean, 9 Inch Nails for the win again, apparently. Like, their score is amazing in this. It might even be better than The Social Network. But I think it's a special movie, and it's a good movie to come out on Christmas because it kind of has this like variation on A Christmas Carol or like Heaven Can Wait, where you like see him like back in his life trying to like walk 22 through everything, but not really able to impact everything. It's just like, but I mean, it teaches you not to take your life for granted, I suppose. And I think it's Oscar contender in all categories. And now that everyone's able to see it, I think that it'll start picking up some more like awards because it hasn't really gotten the major critic love so far. But now it's pretty much widely seen, and everyone's gonna see it. I'm giving it 3.5 stars as well. One of the best movies of the year.
We are thrice approved on Soul. Hey, it's rare that happens, and I'm glad this is one of the ones that we can do that with.
Listen, if you're going to give thumbs down to Soul, then you don't have a soul. And you shouldn't be watching movies. I don't know how anyone could find this objectionable. Like Todd was saying, like it's accessible, and yet it's deep, and it does the stuff that I love in movies, which is that it challenges you. Like, you don't just watch this movie as a passive viewer, like you might think, when you're going into a Disney movie, right? Especially if you're an adult without kids. But this movie, like, challenges you on an intellectual level, which is just a really kind of amazing feat that it achieves. So hats off to Pete Docter, hats off to this writing team and the animators, and it's a really great movie.
Yeah, and Todd, I think you made a really good point that people don't really give kids enough credit for what they can handle and what they can appreciate. Like I said, my 5-year-old son watched this and loved it. We got him a Happy Meal the other day, and he got a Soul toy. He got 22 in the Happy Meal, and so he walks around and he's like, "Hey, Mom and Dad, look, here's my soul!" And when he's looking for it, "Where's my soul?" And it's really funny, him wandering around the house asking where his soul is. But yeah, and another, yeah, and then another thing that happened just the other day. of showing just how much they can handle is he got one of the big candy canes filled with Reese's for Christmas, and he took it and was using it as a cane and like dancing with it. And he goes, "Look, I'm dancing like Charlie Chaplin," because I've showed him Chaplin movies, and he loves them. And it's like, I mean, yeah, you're right. The people don't give kids credit for how much they can handle, for sure. And kids can definitely get into this one too.
That's good to hear.
All right, yeah. Okay, cool. And yes, I show my kid Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and all the essentials, and he loves them. Because they're great movies, and everyone can appreciate a little bit of that. So, Soul, thrice approved on Disney Plus. If you haven't watched it already.